Inside of the concentration camps, the Nazis instilled reigns of terror and fear onto prisoners who were held inside facilities such as Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen and Ravensbrück. Under the cover of the Second World War, millions would be killed and executed within the camps during the Holocaust, with the innocent people being driven to their deaths by the SS and the Nazis. Across Nazi-occupied lands, huge networks of concentration camps were established, and it was within these where guards terrorised prisoners on a daily basis. Many guards and evil workers at the camps took part in selections, where they would be playing God with people's lives, practically deciding who would live another day, and who would be sent straight to their deaths. Children were usually sent straight to the gas chambers when they arrived at places such as Treblinka, Auschwitz and other camps, as they were seen as not useful for work by the staff of the camp. This led to hundreds of thousands of innocent and young children being murdered within minutes of stepping off trains. There is one child today who is commemorated in his city of Lublin, where each year he is celebrated as a hero, and his life is used as a story over Poland, in the school system, to communicate the evils of the past. Join us today as we look at the horrific execution of the child of the Holocaust, Henio Zytomirski, and remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Born on the 25th of March 1933 inside Lublin in Poland, Henio Zytomirski was the first son of Sarah and Shmuel Zytomirski. His parents lived inside of Lublin, and his grandparents lived nearby. Family life for the young boy was very happy, as in a number of pictures he is shown being embraced by his father, mother and grandfather. He began to attend kindergarten in Lublin in early September 1937, and the final photograph ever taken of him was on the 5th of July 1939, aged 6, outside the bank found on Krakowska Avenue in Lublin. Over the next few months, the rhetoric across the border in Nazi Germany began to become even stronger, and it was clear that Hitler had ambitions to build his Third Reich and empire, and many feared that he would enter Poland and invade to do this. On the very day that Henio was due to start his first day at school, Nazi Germany invaded Poland. Following the invasion and subsequent fall of Poland to the Nazis, inside of the city of Lublin, a Judenrat, an administration body established by the Nazis on the Jews, was set up. Henio's father was involved in this and was appointed to the body. He previously was a teacher and a chairman of an organisation in the city, a pro-Marxist workers' movement. He then worked inside the post office as a manager, and whilst working here he was involved in the Polish underground, and he made contact with them. He spoke with his younger brother, who had moved to Palestine, and other members of the Jewish resistance in other cities. Things were tough inside of the city for the Jewish people, and a ghetto was established, which opened formally on the 24th of March 1941. With this, the Nazi German governor of Lublin forced over 34,000 Jews into the ghetto that was set up, and the Zytomirskis, including Henio, moved to 11th, Kowalska Street inside the ghetto. Conditions inside were tough, and it's considered that almost all of those who were imprisoned in the ghetto were killed by the end of the Second World War. Most of the victims were taken to Belzec Extermination Camp, with around 30,000 from the Lublin Ghetto being sent there and killed during the mass deportations. The Germans established a quota of 1,400 prisoners to be taken to their deaths each day. Conditions were harsh, and there was disease lurking inside, and also a severe shortage of food. Henio's grandfather died from typhus inside the ghetto in November 1941, and he requested to be buried near the cemetery gate, so he could see when the city was liberated and be the first to do so. His tombstone was later destroyed by the Germans when the Jewish cemetery was liquidated. Henio and his family continued to live inside the ghetto until the mass deportations came for them. On the 16th of March 1942, transports in the form of freight trains would arrive each day to take people to extermination camps from Lublin to be killed. The SS oversaw the transports, and Jews were selected in the square near a slaughterhouse to be taken to their deaths. The selections each day would ultimately be what would lead to someone living an extra day or not. Those selected to be deported to extermination camps were taken from the Great Synagogue and were then placed on board the trains and were transported mostly to Belzec Extermination Camp. Here it's estimated that up to 600,000 Jews were murdered inside the gas chambers. Many of Lublin's Jews who were sick or ill were shot on the spot or were driven into the woods to be killed. The ghetto was liquidated in March and April 1942 with the deportations and killings, and amongst them were Henio's mother and grandmother and his aunts, who were taken to Belzec and killed inside the gas chambers there. But on the 14th of April 1942, the transports stopped. Henio, the young boy, and his father somehow survived the selections, as his father had obtained a work permit. There were a small number of Jews who stayed alive. They were then transported to a smaller ghetto. Around 8,000 people entered this, but selections then began inside this ghetto, and the 3,000 people who did not have a work permit were then deported to Majdanek concentration camp, and then were sent to a nearby forest and were massacred, being shot to death. During the final liquidation of the Maidan Tatarsky ghetto, Henio and his father were sent to Majdanek concentration camp. Upon arriving there, selections took place. It was here where the young 9-year-old Henio was separated from his father. Guards, after unloading the transports, selected Henio to be killed as he was just a young boy, and it was believed he was of no use to work inside the camp. Henio was selected, and he was ripped away from his father and was transported immediately to the gas chambers. Henio, along with other children and old people, was driven straight to the gas chambers upon arrival, and his death orchestrates the true horror and evil of the Holocaust. There was no regard for life and no regard for humanity when selections took place or when exterminations occurred. Henio's father continued to live and work in Majdanek concentration camp, and he lost all of his family. He did manage to escape a number of mass killings and liquidations, but Henio's father eventually was killed during the Holocaust. Despite only being 9 years old when he was murdered inside of the gas chambers, Henio Zytomirski has become a symbol and icon of the Holocaust. Today his life story is taught inside of the Polish curriculum and inside of schools, and his short time on earth is commemorated in a number of different ways. Each year on the 19th of April, Holocaust Remembrance Day in Poland, schoolchildren and citizens of Lublin are encouraged to send letters addressed to Henio at 11 Kowalska Street, his last known address. Each year thousands of letters are sent, and they include paintings, letters and stories from children his age and older. The site where the photograph of him outside the bank was taken is also covered in letters and tributes. At Majdanek concentration camp, an exhibition follows the lives of 4 children, and Henio is included in this. The story of Henio Zytomirski is a tragic and harrowing one, which saw a boy of 9 being driven to the gas chambers. His story is one which is not alone, as during the Holocaust there were thousands of children, many much younger, who were sent to their deaths. Their stories are some of the most horrifying of the Second World War, as before the conflict breaking out, they had their whole lives ahead of them. They had their whole futures ahead of them too, but they would never see this, as the disgusting politics and beliefs of the Nazis would steal the futures of so many. The Second World War was a conflict which did not involve children, and they had no involvement in it, but across Europe, hundreds of thousands of innocent children would be considered victims of the conflict. The story of Henio Zytomirski must never be forgotten, along with the accounts of all those others who were killed at the hands of one of history's most evil regimes. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.